I mean, overall,
Go ahead.
Just going to say,
Gotta
overall,
add a lot of editing work on this one.
Yeah, for sure.
Welcome to Screens of the Stone Age, the podcast where scientists review movies about prehistoric people. My name is Josh Lindell. I'm a grad student studying Neanderthal teeth, and I'm here with...
I'm Dr. Kimberly Plomp. I am a bioarchaeologist. I study human health and disease and evolution.
And I'm Dr. Ross Barnett, a paleogeneticist, looking mainly at felids.
And today, we are reviewing The Ruins from 2008. I feel misled by this title. There's not a lot of ruins to talk about in this movie. My notes are amongst the shortest for any movie that we've done, so hopefully we'll have something to say about it. Has it come up before that I don't actually like scary movies at all?
Oh.
There's a lot of scary archaeology movies, and every time October comes around, it's like, yeah, we gotta pump out these scary movies because I don't want to do them otherwise. So we're doing scary movies for all of October, and I hate scary movies. So we'll see how we feel about this one in the end.
Wow. How did you cope with this one?
Yeah. Is it because you get scared?
I don't like feeling scared.
Okay.
I have my strategies for coping with it, but I was up and down on this one. We'll see how we feel about it as a scary movie. Definitely one of the scarier movies that we've actually done. A lot of the time we do scary movies that just really aren't scary at all. But there's a little... We'll get into it. But who wants to summarize this one?
I can do it. Okay. So the movie opens up at a resort in Mexico, and there's a group of tourists there, two women and two men. And it's stated pretty quickly that the two women are best friends and the two men are their boyfriends, right? So that's where the connection is between the two women. And they're kind of partying by the pool, having a good time. It's their last day. They leave the next day. And they meet another tourist who, I think he was Greek, right? He said Malacca, so I think he was Greek. And he...
Matthias is German.
Oh, okay. Well, I called someone a Malacca, though.
His friends are Greek, though.
Yeah.
They're meeting some Greeks later.
So he says that he's traveling with his brother, but his brother's not at the pool that day because he had met an archaeologist the day before, and she said that she knew where some secret archaeological ruins were. The Incan, was it Incan or Mayan?
Mayan
in Mexico, yeah. Mayan civilization, and it's not even on the tourist maps. And so he says, well, we can go tomorrow maybe if you guys wanted to go see that. And so the tourists are like, yes, let's go, except for the one woman who was hungover. She didn't want to go, but she got talked into it. And very importantly, her boyfriend is in med school, so he's training to be a surgeon. So this is an important thing. So they go out to the jungle with this tour guide, or not the tour guide, sorry, the German tourist, and then some other guy they're with, and he hasn't heard from his brothers or the archaeologist. They haven't come back, so they also are now going to look for them to hopefully find them at this site. And they go to where the site's supposed to be, and there's this road, but it's kind of closed off, and the sign's been taken down, and everything's closed off, so it makes it look very much like the locals don't want you going down this path. And one of the women says, okay, well, we obviously shouldn't be going down there, but then they're like, oh, they're just trying to keep it secure. And she's like, well, that's kind of the point. Right? She was making good points. And then they're like, no, we got to just go down. We're not going to be like those asshole tourists. We're going to be good tourists. And so then they go down this path they're not supposed to go down, and they get to this beautiful clearing with this Mayan ruin with this, like the stepped pyramid, single pyramid, and it's gorgeous and it's covered in vines. And they don't see the brother or the archaeologist anywhere, so they walk up to the ruins, and then they're surrounded by locals. They have guns and bows and arrows aimed at them, and they're yelling at them, and they say, okay, well, we need to tell them, like, what we're here for his brother. And so he shows them a picture of his brother, and he asks them if you've seen him, and the guy is not really paying attention, doesn't really care about the picture. And then the other guy, so the guy that I don't remember why he's there, so not the German tourist and not the four people in the couples, he walks towards him, like, takes a step towards the guy to talk to him, And so they shoot him once with a bow and arrow and then once with a gun bullet through his head. So they just kill him right away. So then this is when everybody realizes, oh shit, this is not a game. This is for real. These people are scary. And so they back off and they start running farther into the forest, into the gathering, and then they run up into the pyramid, thinking that the pyramid, they get shelter at the top of the pyramid away from these people who are trying to kill them. And so they're at the top and they don't really know what they're going to do, because as they're watching from the top of the pyramid, the locals are starting to come down from out inside the jungle, and they're starting to set up camp and perimeter around the pyramid, making it obvious that these people are not going to be able to leave, right? That they're setting up a perimeter so that they can't escape the pyramid. And so then they start to freak out, and they think that they're going to have to go in through the pyramid. So the top surface has a hole, an opening inside the pyramid. So they're like, okay, well, we need to go in there. Maybe we'll find the brother and the archaeologist, and maybe we'll find a way out that they don't know about. And so they start to try and pulley the German tourist down, but then the rope breaks or something. I forget. They lose control of the rope, and he falls and lands inside the pyramid and breaks his legs. And so then one of the women has to go down to check on him. And then she says, okay, he's alive and conscious, but his legs are broken. And so the people up top make a gurney. And then with the other woman on the gurney, they lower it down. So the idea is that they would lift up the injured guy onto the gurney, and then they'd all get pulled up through the hole. It was a good idea. Good plan. Very Boy Scouty, Girl Guides. But, now I'm forgetting what happened next. So they get pulled up, but it's very clear that he's in really bad condition. And then they hear a cell phone ringing down in the pyramid. Am I missing a part? Am I jumping ahead?
I think that's why they went down in the first place, because Matthias thought it was his brother's cell phone that he was hearing.
Oh,
so
right.
that's why
Okay,
he
so
went
they were
down.
hearing a cell phone down there, so they thought it was his brother with his cell phone. That would be useful. And then they still hear it ringing. So one of the blonde woman goes down again. Both women go down again once the Matthias is up above and safe. And then they realize that it's the flowers on the vine, because the vine's everywhere and it has these beautiful reddy purple or reddy orange flowers everywhere. And it's actually the flowers of vines that are mimicking the sound of a cell phone ringing. So there isn't a cell phone down there, it's the vines making that sound. And so they freak out because that's terrifying and go back up to the top. So the guys up top don't really believe. They think that they're going nuts, but they need to pay attention to Matthias and their situation right now. So it's nightfall, so they have to, the women sleep in the tent. They have to make covering for Matthias because they don't want to move him again. And then they go to sleep. And the next morning they wake up and Matthias has now got an infection and it's really bad. And then the blonde woman wakes up. She thinks that her leg hurts, and she notices that the vines are now inside the tent. So they were outside the tent when she went to sleep, and now they're inside, so they've come into the tent. And then she feels her legs, and she opens up her sleeping bag, and the vines have grown into her legs. It's like a nightmare of mine. It's so terrifying. So her boyfriend has to pull out this vine from inside her leg. It was horrifying. And then at this point is when the two that are outside having their morning, looking over the pyramid or whatever, she goes up to Matthias, and he's just like, there's something wrong with my legs. You have to check my legs, because he can't feel them because they're broken. And so she takes the blanket off of him, and his legs are completely entwined in the vines and going inside him and everything. So they freak out. So they pull the vines out of everybody. But then now Matthias is his flesh from his legs have pretty much eaten away, and so he's going to get infection. And so the surgical student says we have to chop off his legs or else he's going to die. Which, I think he's going to die if you do chop off his legs, but okay. So they argue about whether they're going to do that or not. Eventually, Matthias pipes in and says, please chop off my legs. And so they chop off his legs without any anesthesia or anything like that. And then they just leave him there. They're like, we got to save him. We'll go chop off our legs. And then so they literally chop off his legs and then walk away. His stumps now are just exposed and bleeding. That's crazy. And then Matthias eventually dies, right? Very soon after this. And then someone makes a rude comment well, good thing we cut off his legs. And once he dies, the vines reach out for his body and pull his dead body into the vines, like as if they know that he's dead and now they're collecting him. So now there's only 3 of them left. No, sorry, there's 4 of them left. But that one girl, she had the vines inside her legs too. And so they continue freaking out, trying to figure out what's happening. They're starting to put it together that the vines maybe are the problem. Oh, and I forgot this part. This part's important. So at the beginning, when they were trying to talk to the people, the locals, somebody got angry. One of the guys got angry and threw a piece of the vine at a kid in the village. And the locals just turned around and shot the kid, right? So that's your first indication that there's something wrong with the vines, because it was that the vine touched the kid and they killed even a child in their own community. Anyways, okay, so going back up, so there's 4 of them left, but the girl has vines, but they think it's fine because they pulled it out. But then the next day, she shows them that underneath her skin, you can see the vines are growing. And then she starts to freak out, saying that they're in her head. She can feel them in her. She's freaking out. And eventually it's so painful and so horrible for her that she begs for them to kill her. And eventually they do kill her. And her boyfriend died at some point too before this. I'm terrible at
She
this.
stabs
Yeah,
him.
immediately before that.
I am so terrible at this. Her boyfriend died somehow.
She lashed out because she was trying to cut the vines out of herself. She lashed out and accidentally stabbed him in the heart.
Yes.
And then that's part of the reason why she asked them to kill her
Right.
after that.
But that's her fault, or his fault, because she was obviously going crazy with the vines in her and was trying to cut out the vines from her. And one guy walked up to her and tried to get the knife from her, and she slashed at him. Like, she was making it obvious that she was going to attack anybody came up to her. Then her boyfriend walked up to her, and so then she stabbed him. So he should have known, like, I've been prepared at that point that it's going to be dangerous. Anyway, so he dies, and then she dies because they kill her, and it was such a ruckus that she died, that they know that the local people heard all of that. They heard her screaming and begging for death, and they heard the thud and then the silence. So then the medical student comes up with this plan that they're going to try and he says to his girlfriend that they're going to try and escape. And so he covers her in blood to make it look like she was the one that he killed, not the other friend. And he carries her down the front of the pyramid in front of the locals and says, like, this is her, I just killed her. And then he lays her body down, and then he walks away from her, slowly talking, trying to get the attention of the villagers, because they're all watching him because he's now the threat. They think that he is one that the vine's going to follow. And so he takes them away from her enough that she can get up and run. And she gets up and runs through the jungle. They chase her, but she's faster somehow. And then she gets into the Jeep that they left there and is able to drive the Jeep away. And the locals shoot the med student, so he dies. So she's the only survivor. And that's the end.
Well, the actual end is when the Greeks show up
right, yes.
The next day.
They go to find Matthias. So other tourists now come to go and find these tourists. So this must just be exhausting for the locals. Like, they're like, we put up signs, we hide the path. Every day, somebody comes.
Seems like such a routine. You'd think they'd keep their small children away from the pyramid when they have gunfights with the locals going on, though.
Yeah.
You think. Or you think they just tell, like, the CDC and let somebody, like, firebomb it and take care of it.
Mm.
It would get weaponized, though. It would,
Yeah, I guess.
It's essentially Alien with killer plants. And,
Yeah.
The problem with bioweapons is that Weyland-Yutani, or whatever the equivalent is in this film universe, would want to use it as a kind of, I guess, a biological Agent Orange for use in warfare.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, lots of parallels to the Halloween movie we did last year, The Thaw, which was an archaeological excavation, or paleontological. They found a mammoth, and there was some parasite in it. It was crawling under their skin. They were quarantined. They're dying one at a time. Boyfriend kills a girlfriend. Lots of direct parallels in that one.
Yeah, I mean, it is just a kind of boilerplate film. I mean, it could have been killer plants, it could have been killer ants, it could have been killer, whatever. It's just, CTRL.
Insert scary thing here.
CTRL-V with whatever your killer thing is. And it's exactly the same movie. But I think, I love scary films. I'm not like Josh, I love scary films. But I think of all the potential kind of antagonists you can have in a scary film, killer plants are the least terrifying of them all.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, it's just...
Let me take you on my journey, okay?
Take us on a journey.
We start off strong with this dark scene with a woman screaming and then a jump scare. And I'm like, okay, it's a jump scare movie. I hate jump scares. So I'm going to read ahead, know where all the jump scares are, and then I'll be fine, right? I start reading ahead and I realize the monster is plants. This movie is stupid and I don't have to be scared, right?
Yeah.
And the plants are not scary in any way, except for Kim apparently is afraid of plants, and we'll have to get into that, I guess.
I'm afraid of things in my skin like that and having to pull them out. Ugh.
Well, I don't think I agree. Plants weren't scary. M. Night Shyamalan couldn't do it. You can't make plants scary. This is basically Little Shop of Horrors. If it was a comedy, you can do great with a killer plant.
Yeah, I would agree. The Little Shop of Horrors is the only time that a plant has actually been scary, but is also funny as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then it goes on, and there's not really a lot of jump scares, which is nice. But what you get into is the body horror, and I hate that the cutting herself up to get the plants out. Like, that stuck with me for a while. So I thought it was going to be full of jump scares. Actually, just stupid plants. Actually, it's body horror and it's creeped out. And like, jump scares would have been better because like I get the jump scare. Like, you get the adrenaline, you get it feels dangerous, but now it's safe, and so you go on this high intensity sort of feeling. The body horror just creeps me out and sticks with me for hours afterwards, and I just feel bad after watching it. So I wish it had been jump scares. Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been an X-Files episode. Like it was, the X-Files did this exact same thing like several times. I'm just, the X-Files is on my mind because it's the 30th anniversary, and that was very much a kind of seminal series in my upbringing in the 90s. But yeah, they did it in the Antarctic, like The Thing. They did it in the kind of forests of the Pacific Northwest with some kind of, I can't even remember. Was it maybe a spore, some kind of mushroom? They did it with a silica-based thing as well. It was this is a very common trope of idiots blundering into something they shouldn't and then it killing them all.
Yeah, and then one that's infected always gets away to infect the rest of the population because they never stop and think maybe there's a reason why the locals are going to kill. Like, maybe they shouldn't be leaving the pyramid.
Yeah, exactly. These fucking annoying American tourists that just blunder in, get infected, and then, escape to infect the rest of the world. Thanks.
Instead of just taking your comeuppance and just enjoying the last sunset on the pyramid.
Yeah. I mean, I read on IMDb afterwards that apparently they changed the ending slightly. So the original ending was going to be as Amy, I think her name is driving away in the Jeep. There would be a shot of her looking into the rearview mirror, and you'd see like a vine crawling underneath her skin. And I think that would have been a braver choice. What I was thinking of as well, another film where people blunder into some strange organism and it kills them all, and then one of them escapes, is Life. I don't know if you guys have seen that, which I really enjoyed.
I don't think so.
It's got Jake Gyllenhaal, Ryan Reynolds, Rebecca Ferguson, a bunch of astronauts on a spaceship collecting a kind of sample of Mars soil, which has this organism in it, and it basically kind of rapidly grows and evolves. And there's a really, really good ending where it's a real downer ending. And a twist downer ending, which I've obviously spoiled for anyone who's not seen it. But at least it had the kind of balls to kind of not have a happy ending where the single kind of the final girl escapes.
Well, I think it's only happy if you assume she's not contaminated, but it seems like even the pollen contaminated them, so I think she is. I think it's a terrible ending for everybody.
I also read that there was another alternate ending to this one where she does die and somehow is buried. I'm not sure who buries her, but then somebody else is looking for her, and they hear her like whistling a tune or something like that. It had previously been established that she had been whistling, but it turns out it's the flowers on her grave that are mimicking the sound of her whistling. So that would have been a pretty cool ending.
Yeah, that was the one thing I actually did think was quite cool. Was Kim, you picked up on this as well, is that the plants were able to mimic stuff that was being said, so or heard, like the mobile phone, or Amy, the character's asking to be killed, like copied what she was saying. But I think this kind of idea of this weird organism mimicking people's voices was done much better in Annihilation. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
I agree.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before. I hate that movie because of refracting the DNA, but actually it's a really good movie. And that bear that you're talking about, mimicking the woman screaming, that was a very terrifying scene.
Yeah.
And I was thinking exactly the same thing. Like that is a much better effect. Flowers mimicking voices really aren't that scary.
No, it is.
When you guys talking about the X-Files, what this reminded me of was a Simpsons episode, because everything in life always goes back to Simpsons, where they're lost in the jungle or something, and then Homer gets eaten like by this giant flower, so it like comes up and swallows him, and then they're all scream, and then he just kind of pushes the petal out and like rips the petal and walks out, and everybody's like, "How'd you do that?" And he's like, "It's a flower."
Yeah.
Well, do we have anything to say about archaeology? Because this is an archaeology podcast.
Yeah, there's very little archaeology or archaeologists, really. Do we assume that the girl that is there right at the start of the film is the Matthias's brother's girlfriend, the one that has the cell phone?
Yeah. This guy, the woman, they find a body inside the pyramid as well. It must be her. We don't have any indication that there's anybody there other than one woman archaeologist and Heinrich's brother along with her. And we find two bodies. There's a body on the top, which is almost mummified looking for some reason.
Like, they never comment on the fact.
Not really, no.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
Well, it probably just dissolves them, right?
Yeah, but the character that finds the body doesn't tell anyone, which is weird.
No, he doesn't. I know. And it had a watch on it, so I was wondering if that was maybe supposed to be Matthias's brother, and the plant absorbs the body so much that it was skeletized. Or
yeah, I think it must have been. But a lot of stuff in this film doesn't make any sense if you look at it even a little bit. So this pyramid that's guarded by the locals, rightly enough, they're absolutely 100% in the right to be doing that. Somehow it's had previous excavation. Like, somebody has tunneled in through the roof. Somebody has built that kind of winch system to get up and down. Who did that? You know, that's how.
Well, maybe maybe the plant was inside and they like disturbed it and let it out.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
Plants famously are good at living underground with no sunlight for thousands of years.
Yeah.
That is how plants work.
But if they've got an alternative nitrogen source, like dead bodies or something, then yeah, maybe.
I guess it is carnivorous, right? So it doesn't have to be photosynthetic, but it is green. So,
but it would still need bodies, unless it unless it's an alien species that go dormant for a certain amount of time and then wakes up when it's light on it.
Could have been a seed. But the person, whoever made the winch system, must have made multiple trips on and off the pyramid to sort of set that up, to get wood and rope and stuff. But no, I didn't like any of the characters in this. Like, Stacy and Amy were just really sort of stereotypical tourists of the worst kind. Like, they just hung out at the pool and drank and kind of just used the
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right. Sure, yeah, whatever you enjoy with your holiday, but and then the boyfriends were fairly useless as well, and it annoyed me all the way through.
Well, the one guy with his surgical knowledge just chopped off leg.
Like, that was supposed to be the big thing about him, you know, like, it was supposed to be that he comes back to being important, that he's a med student.
Yeah.
So he just chopped off the guy's legs and then just walked away.
It doesn't say what med school he went to. Maybe it was Dr. Nick's upstairs Hollywood's medical school.
Well, how long does med school take? Because he does explicitly say in his final monologue that he's 22 years old. So he's like pre-med at best, right? Like,
it depends what country he's doing it in, I guess.
Presumably America.
Because in the UK, you can be a qualified doctor at 23.
Yikes.
Yeah.
It also seemed to me like they're trying to make it a big deal. So the doctor's girlfriend cheated on him. So she actually kissed Matthias the night before when she was drunk and after her boyfriend had gone to bed. And then there had been some suggestion that she had maybe cheated on him before. Whenever she gets drunk, she kind of cheats on him when he's not around. And so this comes up at like one of the end scenes, like in a fight. Like she doesn't even, you think she's not cheating, blah, blah, blah. Like it throws it at him because that's what's really needed in this situation is like some emotional hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's kind of just left there. And then he sacrifices himself to save her, which is, really great of him. He must really love her. And I felt like they didn't make this connection because I felt like they just kind of dropped the whole cheating aspect, but I felt like that it was like a half-ass attempt at trying to make it like, isn't he so wonderful because he saved her even though she's a cheating whatnot, right?
Yeah, but she might be a cheater, but
she's still a person. Like, it's also the type of thing, like, and I thought he handled it really well when someone threw at him, like, she's cheated, and he's like, okay, whatever. Can we focus again on chopping the guy's legs off?
Yeah.
Like, he handled it quite well. Like, it's almost, it doesn't matter right now. We're being hunted by a plant. I don't care who she slept with. Right?
Yeah, she might be a serial cheater, but she's probably never chopped somebody's legs off, which arguably is much worse, without anesthetic as well.
Yeah.
And then also rooting around with an unsterilized knife in Stacy's back and sides, trying to get these vines out. It's not a good look.
No, they had a bottle of tequila that they were sterilizing it with.
Yeah, Matthias when he fell in the shaft, he was supposed to have like broken his back or something. That's why they were really worried about moving him, and that's why he couldn't feel his legs. But then they kind of just lift him up and stick him in the gurney they've made because they can't reach any further, and you hear his bones cracking. So obviously things are terrible for him.
Mm-hmm.
But then they think he's paralyzed. But when they're cutting his legs off, he's screaming an awful lot. But he does have something to bite down on, and it's never really made clear why he's in so much pain if he's been paralyzed. Is he just not paralyzed?
Well, the doctor guy said it's because he could see it, and it was just an emotional reaction.
I don't think that was true because
I think
it seemed like he was really feeling it.
I don't think those are pretty horrific screams. Yes, I'm guessing that maybe the med student doesn't know what he's doing. They're talking about,
and he could feel the vines getting in his legs as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he said. Well, he said that there's something not right with my legs. Yeah.
But then,
I think that this is lazy writing. I think this is they write at the beginning. He breaks his back, so that's how he can't move his legs. So they need to get him out and like, but if he broke his back, he doesn't feel his legs, and there's no drama. It's like, well, just pretend you can feel it, so that there is drama. Like, I feel like they just sort of wrote themselves into a corner and then didn't bother trying to rewrite it to get out of it.
Yeah.
But
what also I thought was pretty bad was that they don't expect this to be sore for Matthias, but they give him something to bite down on. But then Stacy, who's got these vines under her skin, and says that it hurts, and they're going to basically kind of stab her repeatedly with their knives and then root around to try and get them out. She doesn't get anything to bite on. I mean, where's the sense in that?
The actor does a pretty good job of like screaming in pain, and it was pretty believable, but like not enough for that much stabbing yourself. Like
you'd pass out. I think you'd have to pass out at some point. Same with Matthias too, right?
Yeah.
Your body would go into shock.
The acting was pretty good. I thought that the actors were working well with what they were given, and it was stressing me out all the way through. But I recognized, was it Eric, the blonde non-doctor guy? What I'd seen him from, it just really bugged me. But then I had to check it out, and apparently he was Iceman in all the X-Men films, which is what I recognized him from.
Oh,
so there you go.
I haven't seen any X-Men films.
Too scary?
Yeah. They don't understand how evolution works. Mutations.
Yeah, that is scary.
Eric bothered me throughout this whole movie because he looks a lot like my brother, who's also named Eric.
Oh, right.
Oh.
So
Eric's the one that died first, the non-med student, right?
Yeah.
The one that got stabbed through the heart.
Yeah, I gotta watch Eric getting stabbed through the heart.
You should make a GIF of that and just send it to your brother.
Every time I see somebody that looks like him, I send him a picture and he's like, that doesn't look like me. I saw there's an old photo from like the early 1900s in a local museum of a guy that looks exactly like my brother, and I sent it to him, and he's like, that doesn't look like me. I'm like, this is probably a relative of ours. This is a small town.
Very cool.
It sounds to me like your brother's actually a time traveler, and he's just not doing a very good job of throwing you off the scent.
Yeah, maybe.
I love those pictures of people who find their doppelgangers in an art museum.
Yeah, those are cool.
Well, let me look at my notes, which comprise 4 lines. The quote-unquote doctor says that he's got the German guy with the broken leg says septicemia, which he describes as an infection of the bone, which is not correct.
It's not correct. I was like, what?
Septicemia is a blood infection.
Yeah, maybe I'm seeing more and more that this guy's he's not passing med school.
Yeah.
Or really what it is he's in biology 101. He's taking for the 3rd time, so he might as well say he's in med school.
I mean, that could have come up too. That's a trope that happens in movies fairly frequently, right? Someone says they're in med school, but they're actually just like flunking out of undergrad. I'm thinking of The Memphis Belle. Have you seen that movie? Like a Disney movie about World War II bombers.
No.
Billy Zane says he was in med school before he got drafted, but he actually just enrolled and hadn't actually taken any classes yet.
I think I would do the opposite. I think I'd have to be like a doctor for 10 years before I said anything, because just can you imagine having someone need you in an emergency and you're like,
Yeah.
Is there a doctor on the plane? Oh, I only have 10 years experience.
But yes.
Anybody else?
In paleogenetics.
Yeah.
There's that's basically like a kind of meme format, isn't it? You know, there's somebody lying on the sidewalk and a woman's bending over and she's shouting, is anyone a doctor? And the next panel is a guy saying, yes, I'm a doctor of philosophy. And then the woman saying, this guy's going to die. And then the philosopher says, we're all going to die.
We're all going to die. Yeah. Well, and then there's the other one that's like, is there a doctor on the plane? And everybody's like quiet. And then a historian or someone is like, well, I have a doctorate. And she's like, there's someone in seat 34F who needs help with a conference abstract. And they're like, I'm here for it.
Yeah. Yeah, now that we could help with, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we have not talked about archaeology at all. I got to find a way to tie in archaeology. Do we know anything about Mayan pyramids between us? None of us study Maya archaeology.
No.
It looked right.
Yeah, it had steps.
It was a step pyramid.
It had steps, yeah. That's all I know.
It was pretty unremarkable looking. Like the Maya pyramids, like their architecture is really interesting. Like the staircases are usually really prominent and they stick out from the steps, which this one didn't have. The staircases were just sort of built into the steps, it seemed.
But if it was made just to quickly hide a devil seed.
They made a pyramid quickly to hide the plant? Is that what you think the origin of the pyramid was? Oh no, yes. There's a murderous plant. We better quickly build a pyramid on top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Quickly, no time to make it ornate.
Yeah. But also, I mean, I guess, fairly realistic that it's covered in vines. A lot of the, even the very famous pyramids like, I think Templo Mayor and the ones at Chichen Itza were, until pretty recently, just covered in forest, which was then kind of cleared and cut down to re-expose the pyramids themselves.
It's probably realistic that there is an undiscovered pyramid that is covered in forest, because more and more with like LiDAR or whatever we're using to see through the jungles now, we're finding all kinds of pyramids in the jungle that we didn't know were there.
Yeah.
Is it normal for them to just be singular? Because I often see pictures of them like where there's groups of them.
I don't think so. Like they're always part of a complex, right? Like these were civilizations. They were like cities built around them. So it seems strange that it would be all alone like that.
Yeah, the only there was mention of an archaeologist, mention of an archaeological site, and a map with an X marked the spot. That's the only thing.
Yeah, and how realistic is it that an archaeologist would hook up with a random German and then take him to an unexplored site? I would guess not
No
very.
way. Not very, because you'd be like, one, health and safety. Two, you're not gonna they're gonna you would never, because you trust you to not ruin it. Be a dickhead, right?
So it was not on the up and up, this archaeological dig. This was some clandestine tomb raiding dig, right?
Yeah.
Was it a dig she was on, or was she just going to check it out?
Unclear. We should have asked Andrew Kinkella back for this episode, I realized, because he has done this kind of survey work in, I think he works in Belize mostly, where, you know, they do survey through the jungle and he's mapping out locations like this, which is what would have been happening. You would have had a team, probably a pretty small team, but you would have had radios. You would have been, you know, surveying the area. And then if you're doing an excavation, you got to have the permits. You go in with a team.
Oh, yeah.
Ideally, you have a good relationship with the descendant communities, which I guess there's another lesson here to listen to indigenous knowledge and don't go doing archaeology against that. So yeah, it doesn't seem like there is any real archaeology going on, even though this character was supposed to have been an archaeologist.
Maybe she was going to the same university as the med student.
Yeah, Dr. Jones is upstairs School of Archaeology for tomb raiders and grave robbers. Yeah.
They definitely have this entitled American attitude because what's his name, Jeff, at some point when everyone's freaking out, says, 4 Americans on vacation don't just disappear. He's like, people are going to come and find us. Obviously, we're Americans.
Yeah, I took a note of that quote as well because it just really pissed me right off. Yeah.
I'm sure that 4 Americans disappear on vacation all the time.
Oh, yeah.
The people that were partying hard last night went into the jungle for some unknown exploration. The only thing they packed was tequila. It's like, okay, yeah, goodbye. All right, like, see you later.
So how about this excavation into the top of this pyramid? I've never excavated a pyramid, and I was trying to figure out as much as I could about Mayan pyramids last night. But I couldn't find any evidence that there's ever an entrance down into the top of a pyramid from the platform on top. Usually they have a temple or something on top of these Maya pyramids. But were you under the impression that they had excavated into the top, or that this was a structural opening that they were going in to explore an internal structure?
It was hard to tell.
Yeah.
It kind of looked like, you know, a kind of grave robber's access tunnel, really. But because there was vines everywhere, it was hard to see whether that was the case or whether it was actually a kind of design feature.
It seems like it would be pretty dangerous to go through the top because, at least with like archways and stuff, that top middle stone is kind of the buttress for, like, it's the force acting on that holds everything together. So if you took the wrong thing and the rest was unstable, it would just collapse with you on top, right?
Plus, if it was for like people to use, you'd expect there to be stairs or something, not just like an open shaft that you could easily fall down and break your back.
Yeah.
An interesting thing I was reading about Maya pyramids is that, so a lot of the time they do have some sort of like a tomb inside them or underneath them. But I think, I was trying to understand what I was reading, I think that usually they're built on top of the tomb that already existed. And so, like, to encase it, so I don't think you were meant to get inside after the pyramid was built. And a lot of time these pyramids are built multiple levels, like pyramids on top of pyramids. So, like, every time there's a new ruler, they would build their new pyramid on top of the old one to, like, one-up the other guy. So some of these Maya pyramids have, like, 2 older pyramids inside them with, like, a tomb at the center.
Like a Kinder Surprise.
Or Russian nesting dolls.
But again, that's assuming that it wasn't built just to keep the seed
No, true.
away from everything, right?
I guess one of the things that this movie does well, even though it's frustrating because it gives us nothing to talk about, is that it doesn't over-explain anything, which is one of the things I'll always pick apart So it doesn't give us anything to go on. We can't criticize it too badly because we have no idea why any of this is happening.
Yeah.
And plants that can mimic you is pretty creepy.
That's
Except I don't
scary,
think
yeah.
the mimicking was used to its full extent. The cell phone was a nice touch, but they could have, mimicked the brother saying something. That would have been creepy to kind of entice them down.
Yeah, it could have lured them apart from each other a little bit more, right?
Well, did you know that this is based on a book? And the movie rights were apparently bought before the book was even
oh my
finished
god, I
being
thought you were
written.
going to say true story.
Oh, Kim.
No, so this is based on a book by the same name, and I was reading a synopsis of the book, and it seems like the plants are used better in the book, where the plants seem to be intentionally manipulating them by mimicking each other's voices. And,
Right, yeah.
Like the scene where Stacy thinks that Amy and Eric are having sex. Apparently in the book, it's the plants that are mimicking sex noises between them, which makes her think that. Whereas in the movie, it seems like it's just Amy crying, and Stacy interprets that as sex noises, which, like, that's a leap because crying feels natural in that situation.
That's a whole can of worms right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On that note, I don't think we talked about this movie, like, struggles to not fail the Bechdel test, even though two of the main characters are women who are best friends, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did they talk about the earring at the beginning? I think that's...
They talk about the earring at the beginning, and then they talk about when she's going to bed, they talk about whether they're going to survive or not.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like the tension between them, Stacy thinking Amy is sleeping with her boyfriend, there's like, she's got like a hair trigger for that. Anything is going to set her off, right? It's really their relationship is about their boyfriends for the movie, right?
They're all pretty toxic. I mean...
Yeah. Amy survives in the end, but it's because of the boyfriend's heroic action, right? He's the noble one, so...
Yes. To be fair, she didn't want to go, though. She wanted to sit by the pool.
Let that be a lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you go on vacation, don't visit archaeological sites.
No.
Talking of true stories, can you just remind me that there was a kind of viral clip recently, and I say recently as an old man, sometime in the past few years, of a Spanish woman got caught like climbing on one of the pyramids at I think it was at Chichen Itza.
Chichen Itza, yeah. I was going to bring that up as well.
And was a little bit like this film. She was surrounded by locals who said, what the hell are you doing? Get off our pyramid. You're not supposed to be up there. It's protected. You're damaging it. But they just called her an idiot and fined her $250 rather than shooting her with arrows.
$250, that's nothing for climbing up on a pyramid.
Yeah, well, as they say, punishable by a fine means legal for a cost.
Mm-hmm. Okay, here's a question for you. What is your scariest real-life interaction with a plant?
Whoa. I was once mauled by a tomato. Jeez.
Does a fungus count?
Nettle stings, maybe?
Nettle
Nettles?
stings, yeah. Like poison ivy, stinging nettle.
One of the archaeological sites where I work, every year when you come back, like the site is totally overgrown. You have to clear everything, right? You got to clear the path. And there's a lot of nettles along that path. So you get a lot of nettle burns on the way there on the first day.
Mm. The worst thing to happen to me medically, and I know that this means that I'm very fortunate, but I actually this happened to me January and I still have symptoms from it, was from a fucking caterpillar.
Oh.
So that's not much better than a plant.
Yeah. What did the caterpillar do to you?
So it was a hairy caterpillar called a higadhir, and it was when the first day I got Indy, actually. We were outside, and there's a huge mango tree in my courtyard. It's really beautiful. And I was talking to my neighbor, and I was walking with Indy, and then I noticed that there was something gross between my legs, like in my my shorts had squished something. I looked down, and it was this huge squished furry caterpillar. And it was all like I'd obviously killed it and then walked and then squished it with my thunder thighs, right?
Oh no.
And I just remember being like, ew. And then I flicked it away with my finger and then kept talking to my neighbor. Within like a minute, my legs started to burn.
Shit.
Within 5 minutes, something was very wrong. And I was like in the shower, just trying to like rinse off everything because now my hands and legs were on fire. Within 20 minutes, I was screaming from pain. All the way up my arms and my thighs, both of my sides and my hands were completely swollen, and an itch that I can't even describe. Like, if you had given me a knife to rip off my skin, I would have.
Oh, God.
I took so much Benadryl that I eventually passed out. So that's what stopped, like, it helped, is I eventually just passed out. And, I know, and then I woke up, it was still really bad. I had to take like days just laying in bed because it was just horrific.
Jeez.
And just downing Benadryl like candy. And then eventually it took about 3 weeks for the intense itching and pain to stop. Then my hands were still swollen and my joints were really sore. So like my joints ached and hurt as if I thought maybe it started rheumatoid arthritis, because rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disease, right? So if it's an allergic reaction, it could start rheumatoid arthritis, which runs in my family. So if I already have the like gene for it, it could awaken it. So I went and got tested, and I don't, and I got my hands x-rayed, and there's nothing wrong with them. But still, my left hand every day when I wake up is sore and stiff, and it was never like that before the Higad.
God. And is this something that
it's crazy?
Is this caterpillar something that provokes this reaction in everyone, or is it just that you're incredibly unlucky and had a reaction to it?
I think it's toxic, so it does evoke a reaction, or venomous, I guess, in the hairs. But generally, it's like it brushes on you, and then you get like a localized reaction. But I think because I squished it so much and I really worked it into both of my thighs, I'm probably also allergic to it. Like I'm allergic to most things. It was just this horrible. I even had to throw the shorts out. Like I was wearing shorts. It got through the shorts, and I had to throw them out because even after washing them, I put them on again, and right away my legs flared up.
Oh God!
It was crazy. It was one of the worst things. And I remember texting my sister because I texted her. I'm like, oh, it's so funny. I'm starting to get an allergic reaction to it. And then within minutes, I was like, I think I'm dying. I think this is how I die. Like I actually might die here in bed like this. And then I was telling her, I was like, if this is how I die, tell people that it was a snake. I was protecting the puppy from a snake. Don't tell them that it was a caterpillar I squished in my thighs.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was horrible.
That's bad.
But yeah, I think, and I've looked into some academic articles, and the doctors don't believe me, but I've looked at into like papers, and apparently it can actually trigger periarthritis. So it can trigger like a pre-arthritis phase in your hands. And I think that's what it's done to my left hand.
Shit. So you have to keep an eye on that then.
So not a plant, but a very cute little insect.
Yeah. So plants are not scary.
Caterpillars
are terrified.
Animals scary, bugs scary, plants not scary. I had a similar but definitely not as bad story from a few years ago. I got really bad poison ivy when I was digging up sarsaparilla roots. And like I get poison ivy every single year because I'm always walking around the bush, and normally I don't really care.
Yeah,
but this
was as a kid.
Yeah. This was like my entire forearm was just one big blister. I actually went to the doctor. I've never gone to the doctor for poison ivy. I almost felt silly. And then my doctor looked at it and he's like, oh my God. He's like, do you want some steroids? And I'm like, I think it's peaking. I'm going to wait it out. And that was on a Friday. And then like by Sunday, I'm like, I should have got the steroids. But then by Monday it was going down again. But like I couldn't sleep. I almost had a fever from just poison ivy. It was all over my forearm, but like also my torso, because my forearm like rubbed against my torso before I noticed, right? So I had like patches everywhere, but like one of my forearms was just totally covered.
Ugh.
So like that's probably the worst plant experience I've had.
Yeah, it sounds pretty bad. If we're allowed to widen from plants to insects, I went to a friend's wedding in the Borders, 10 years ago now, but because it was a Scottish wedding, we were all wearing our kilts, and the midges were out. But I didn't realise, because it was a wedding and we were all drinking fairly heavily, But in the evening before I went to bed, and like I could see that where my sort of socks, my kilt hose finished, which was like just slightly below the knee, and where my kilt started, which is just above the knee, was just nothing but welts from midgie bites. And usually I'm okay with midgies. Like the ones in the Highlands don't bug me that much, but I had a sort of 10 centimeter band around my knees, all the way around both of them, just full of midgie bites. And it was so painful that even though I'd been drinking fairly heavily, I couldn't sleep because it was that itchy, and it lasted for days. It was terrible.
Gross.
Yeah, I'm glad I could share that.
Yeah, I guess bugs would be creepier than a plant movie. But I did not like the vines in their skin. But I have nightmares where things are like in my skin and I have to pull them out and it's like a string that keeps coming.
I think that's a fairly common fear, like of having. It's common in sort of psychiatric patients to have this sensation that things are underneath your skin. That's called formication.
Right, yeah. I've never had it awake.
Okay. That's good.
Do you know the scene towards the end where Stacy is like carving up her body like a ham reminded me of that old creepypasta, the Russian sleep experiment, I think.
Yeah.
Have you guys read that one?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, you've got that to look forward to.
Well, I'm sure you can find it if you want to.
Okay.
So you're okay with creepypasta then, Josh, but not
no
films?
Absolutely not.
You read it by accident?
My roommate at the time read it, and she was like, "Oh my God, is this real?" And so I read it, and I had to be like, "No, this is not real, because if you cut off your muscles, then your skeleton stops working. So like, you can't carve, like in this movie, she's standing there all carved up. Like you can't carve your quadriceps muscle off your thigh and still expect to stand, right? Like,
yeah.
So like, less relevant for this movie, but like for that creepypasta, I guess we have to spoil it for Kim. The premise is that there's this sleep deprivation experiment where all the patients go crazy and start cutting themselves up, and like, they're like cutting off all their muscles, and like, okay, well, as soon as you cut off, you know, your biceps and your triceps, and now your arm doesn't move, and you can't cut yourself anymore, so it stops being scary, I guess. Going back to plants, lots of people around here are getting into foraging lately, which is great and also really frustrating for me because I've been foraging my whole life, and now people are nosing in on all the good spots. But a problem that coincidentally is happening at the same time as people getting into foraging, as we have this problem of people writing books with AI and pumping out these really cheap ebooks.
Right, yes, I've heard of this.
Yeah, so I've heard stories about ebooks about foraging that just give really, really bad and dangerous advice. So I can't think of any specific examples, but there's certainly plants around here that if you eat them, you will die within 3 hours. One of the things that's been happening this year is there is tons of water hemlock growing around this city, which looks a lot like other edible plants like wild carrots or like mustard or fennel or dill. They all sort of look similar.
All the same family, aren't they?
Yeah. So if you were to not have great information, you could see these and think, oh, this looks like this family, which includes edible things. Maybe I'm going to harvest these seeds or I'm going to harvest this root. But water hemlock is one of the most terrifying plants because every single part of it is poisonous and there's no known LD50. There's no known safe dose. So pretty much everybody who has ever eaten any amount of this plant has died horribly in pain within 3 hours.
Ugh. Yeah. Wasn't it used as a poison?
But certainly Socrates, when he was
right,
executed by or sentenced to death by the council, he had to drink hemlock. And then being the philosopher that he was, he told all of his students what it was like as he was dying. So if you read the last days of Socrates, there's a very kind of vivid and moving depiction of Socrates describing what it's like to die from hemlock poisoning, which is essentially your extremities start to feel cold and numb, and then it kind of moves into everything shutting down.
Although apparently it tastes good. Water hemlock.
In the 3 hours you've got left, you can
Yep.
Yeah.
write a review. That's true of cyanide as well. It's meant to have a nice kind of almondy taste, like Dr. Pepper.
Arsenic too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's where my fear
Yeah.
of plants comes from, because I do a lot of wild foraging and I'm always identifying new things, and I'm so scared when I'm identifying something new. Like, I identify it for years and I'm like, okay, I'm confident this is it. And then, like, I never eat anything unless somebody else confirms to me, like, oh yes, I eat this, and then they eat it in front of me. So like, but every time I'm identifying something new, I'm like, okay, maybe I die today. If I don't die today, I'll try it again in a few months. If I don't die in a few months, maybe this becomes a regular thing that I forage.
Yeah.
So Ross, we have to, if we ever go for dinner at Josh's house, we have to make sure he eats a salad first.
Stay away from the mushrooms.
If he's sitting there just watching us eat the salad and like just eagerly watching, so how are you feeling?
Yeah. That's why I would be terrified to do foraging, because I just don't think I have the observational skills to differentiate between the tasty mushroom steak versus the incredible death cap, all these kind of things.
Yeah.
But you know, it's one of those things you think about when you sort of think about the past and how people in the past would have identified what was edible and what wasn't, and be able to pass on that knowledge. And the kind of funny way of it is that you sort of see the memes of early people experimenting with fungi. Yeah, this one lets you see God. This one kills you in 10 seconds, but this one tastes really good. But you know, there is like a science to how you could do it. Like if you collect something, if you pick it up, if you first of all like just touch it, cut it open and touch it to your skin and wait to see if you get a reaction. If there's no reaction, then you can cut another bit, place it on your tongue, see if it tastes okay, and if it causes any swelling, if you leave it for half an hour, then after that you can either feed it to your pet or something, depending on how attached to your pet you are, or try a bit after you kind of testing it on skin and on your tongue or your lips.
Don't feed it to your pet. They don't have a choice in this. This choice that you're like, I simply must eat this random thing. I can't live another day without putting this in my mouth.
I don't have any pets, I should point out.
Yes.
Important part of that method is the waiting many, many hours between each step, right?
Yeah.
So like if you're in a survival situation, it's like, here's a possible food source. Maybe I'm going to be able to eat this in 48 hours after I go through all these steps and wait long enough in between each step. So probably best to find food sources you know are reliable and test those for when you need a fallback.
Just look for a bacon tree or a sausage plant or something like that.
Dandelions. Dandelions, the entire part of the plant is safe. You can eat the whole thing. They're super bitter and unpalatable, but if you need food, you can eat dandelions.
But they're also
Right.
slightly laxative, aren't they? And diuretic. So
Probably, I guess, from the bitterness. I've never eaten enough of them to know because they taste terrible. I don't like them.
Yeah.
Although dandelion
isn't
root tea is really nice.
isn't dandelion in French something like piss the bed? Isn't that what its translation
Yes,
of?
yeah.
Yeah. Because that's what it does.
Even though the name dandelion comes from French, that's funny.
Yeah. And I always used to think that, oh yeah, they've got this big yellow mane, they're like dandy lions. But
Yep.
yeah, it's actually because of the leaves, which are shaped like lion's teeth, dented and all.
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And nettles are edible. There you go. If you
Oh yeah,
cook them up.
nettles. Do you know what I did this year with my girlfriend? Is we made a nettle beer. It's actually
Oh.
quite nice.
That'd be
It's
interesting.
not like a beer, not with barley, just like straight nettle tea brewed up to a beer. It's pretty nice.
Was it like nettle kombucha almost?
Well, we're using like brewer's yeast, so it's
Okay.
like it's not sour like kombucha. It's alcoholic. It's like a dark tea from the leaves with alcohol that we carbonated. Drink it like a beer. It's pretty nice.
Cool.
I think if I'm ever in that situation, I'm just going to accept my fate.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what we can do. Eat dandelions. You can always make a tea from any conifer except yew.
You.
Don't eat yew, but
Nope.
that doesn't grow here in North America, I think. So You can use pine, spruce, fir. Even there's a conifer named hemlock, which is different from poison hemlock, which is edible. So that'll get you some nutrients.
Bloody botanists and their names.
Yeah, I saw a meme the other day talking about how every couple of years botanists add a new plant to brassica just to see how many plants they can fit into brassica.
Yeah.
Cattails, depending on the season, every part of the cattail is edible. Although if they're in like a drainage ditch with like agricultural runoff, you probably don't want to eat them. What else is safely edible? These are probably not actually that helpful. Don't take your advice from me on a podcast.
Please don't go eat things because Josh says it.
Yeah.
Read a book that's not written by AI.
Yes.
And do all this research before you get into a survival situation.
Get your food from a supermarket, kids.
And if your friend's a forager, make sure they eat the salad first.
Mm-hmm. Wise words.
And that you've seen their dog in a while.
All right. Well, you've been listening to the Foraging Podcast, where we don't talk about archaeology, apparently. Anything else to say about the ruins? Maybe anything about archaeology? Like, I'm desperate on this episode. We have nothing to talk about related to archaeology. Anything archaeological before we leave?
I don't think so. I really thought that they would be more archaeological heavy. At least there'd be a site or something we could do. With
a name like the ruins, I feel we've been misled.
Well, and they said the word archaeology within the first, 2 minutes. Right?
It's in the description. Every description of the movie talks about archaeological ruins or archaeological dig, but there isn't even a dig. There's just tents and dead people.
Yeah.
Not a single trowel.
Not a single one.
Yeah. There's no archaeology tools. They have tents on top of the pyramid. I thought that was weird until I realized probably the local Maya forced them up there, so they just set up their tents, I guess.
Yeah.
But there's no evidence of archaeology actually in this movie at all, other than somebody has claimed to have been an archaeologist before she died.
That we don't even meet her.
It's very schlocky. It's in 50 or so years, it'll probably be looked at the same way we looked at Ega or any of those sorts of films. Just a solid B movie.
Yeah.
So for those of you who like scary movies, if you want a scary movie, is this a good scary movie?
It's okay. It's not the worst. It's not the best. So it's creepy. You'll get the.
It's probably the scariest plant movie.
Yeah, but it's not.
Have you seen that M. Night Shyamalan one with Marky Mark?
I have not, no, but I have heard about it.
I haven't seen it either.
Yeah, no, there's infinitely better scary movies out there that probably even more that have archaeology as a kind of running theme in them.
Mm.
Like there's As Above, So Below is a good kind of scary film that's set in the catacombs of Paris. Doesn't have a lot of archaeology, but
we should watch that next.
Yeah, it's quite scary, but it doesn't have a lot of archaeology.
That one is on our list.
Yeah.
Well, what we have up next for our 3rd October Halloween movie is a movie that I came across called Black Mountain Side, which is a Canadian indie movie about an archaeological dig in northern Canada. Oddly enough, from the previews, it looks like it also has an amputation. So we've got now 3 different scary archaeology movies with limbs amputated. Seems to be a running theme.
Well, it is scary.
It is pretty scary.
So we'll see how much archaeology actually takes place in that one, and if that one is actually scary.
And how Canadian it is.
Absolutely. I feel like one of the minor themes of this podcast is Canadiana and Canadian films. So we'll check that one out next time. We don't normally say what episode we're doing next, but in this case we have a plan. That's what we're going to do for later in October, and we'll see how that goes. If you've been enjoying Screens of the Stone Age, get in touch with us. Follow us on Twitter at SOTSA_podcast and on Facebook at SOTSA podcast, or send us an email to screensofthestoneage@gmail.com. Screens of the Stone Age is supported by the Paleoanthropological Society of Canada. Find out more at pasc-scpa.ca.